Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at someone the source material we've got describes as, well, a voice that really helped awaken a nation even before independence.
That's right. We're diving into Swami Vivekananda. We have this really interesting mix of notes, articles, different excerpts about him.
Yeah.
And he's known, obviously, as a spiritual leader, a philosopher. But what these sources really highlight, I think, is his role as this powerful force for practical change,
Hmm.
for regeneration.
Absolutely. So our mission today is kind of to get beyond just the surface facts. We want to understand who he really was, the journey that shaped him, and why his message still seems to, well, resonate so much today.
Hmm.
What jumps out at me right away from the material is how he combined this intense intellectual side with deep spirituality and this incredibly energetic call to action.
Yeah, it's less about just a timeline of his life and more exploring the forces behind him, behind this major figure,
Hmm.
and the impact he had, an impact that's still felt.
Yeah, exactly. So let's try and unpack the story, get to know the man behind the monk's robe.
Okay, so the material starts with him as Narendranath Datta, born in Kolkata, 1863, into quite a well-known family.
And even as a kid, the picture you get is someone just bursting with energy, a really sharp mind, but also, and this seems key, asking so many questions. He wasn't just accepting things.
No, not at all. He had really broad interests, too.
Yeah.
Philosophy, music, even physical fitness, which kind of hints at his later focus on strength,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
He just read voraciously, studied Western logic, Eastern scriptures.
Yeah.
He tackled both with the same intensity.
But through all that learning, there was this one core thing driving him, right? This almost obsessive search, asking people that famous question.
Have you seen God?
Yeah. Just asking anyone.
Yes, and according to the accounts we have, it wasn't until he met Ramakrishna Paramahansa, the mystic, that he finally got an answer that, well, satisfied him.
Yeah.
That meeting seems to have just completely changed his direction.
It really set the stage, didn't it?
It's absolutely transformative.
And then, after Ramakrishna passed away, Narendranath undergoes this huge shift. He becomes Swami Vivekananda.
Right, and this wasn't just a name change. He took on the saffron robe, which was this very visible sign of renunciation. But for Vivekananda, crucially, renunciation wasn't about withdrawing. It was about shedding the personal stuff to dedicate himself completely to, service.
And he didn't just go sit in a monastery. The sources talk a lot about his travels, wandering all across India as a monk. That journey seems so important. What was he seeing out there?
Well, he saw the reality of India then, just crushing poverty, deep social divisions, a lot of ignorance. And maybe what hit him hardest was this sort of apathy, this loss of national pride he saw in people.
Wow. Yeah, seeing all that suffering must have just lit a fire under him. It seems like it directly led to that really powerful, urgent message he became known for. Arise, awake.
And stop not till the goal is reached. Exactly. His core belief, the one that really comes through in the materials, shaped by those travels and his own spiritual experiences, was that spirituality, well, it's kind of useless if it just stays in, like rituals or meditation.
Right. It had to mean something practical.
Yes, it had to translate into strength, physical, mental, and spiritual strength, and into action,
Oh.
into selfless service to lift people up.
Okay, so he's had this internal transformation. He's seen the struggles of India firsthand, developed this potent message, and then comes September 11th, 1893. Chicago, the World Parliament of Religions. This moment feels absolutely huge in the narrative.
Oh, it couldn't be bigger, really. You have to picture it. This young monk, nobody really knew him on the world stage, standing up in front of this massive international crowd.
And most of them probably had very limited or stereotyped ideas about India and its philosophy.
Exactly. And then his opening. It's so simple, wasn't it? But the accounts say it just floored everyone. He folds his hands, and instead of some formal opening, he just says,
Sisters and Brothers of America.
yeah. And the reaction, apparently the applause wasn't just polite. It went on for minutes. Like an immediate, deep connection was made.
Wow. And the speech itself, the sources really argue, it fundamentally changed how the West saw India almost overnight.
He talks about tolerance, about Vedanta philosophy, the unity underlying different religions, but also about looking within ourselves for truth and for strength.
He basically presented the depth of Indian thought in a way they hadn't heard, challenging those old stereotypes.
Right. He showed them India wasn't just, snake charmers and mysticism, but a place of profound philosophical heritage with ideas relevant to everyone, thinkers, seekers.
It's pretty amazing how much impact he had in, well, what turned out to be a tragically short life. The sources mention he only lived to be 39.
Yeah, very short. But the impact, as the material makes really clear, it just continues. They say his teachings live forever. And you see that in what he actually did and the people he inspired.
One of the biggest things was founding the Ramakrishna Mission, right?
Hmm.
How does that organization kind of embody his ideas?
Well, the mission is specifically set up to combine the spiritual side with very practical, hands-on humanitarian work, running hospitals, schools, doing disaster relief.
Oh,
It's the direct application of his teaching that serving humanity, seeing the divine in everyone, is the highest form of worship.
and his influence went beyond just spiritual followers, too. The sources point out how his message really struck a chord with key leaders who shaped modern India people like Subhas Chandra Bose, Gandhi, Nehru are mentioned.
Yes, you can definitely see traces, like Bose's emphasis on strength and national pride, perhaps, and Gandhi's focus on serving the poorest, seeing God in humanity that resonates deeply with Vivekananda's ideas. He sort of injected this spiritual self-confidence into the freedom movement.
And he wasn't just talking high philosophy. He had specific things he wanted people to do, attitudes to adopt, like this idea of man-making education. What did he mean by that exactly?
Yeah, it wasn't just about book learning. Man-making education, as it's described, was about building character, instilling courage, self-belief, integrity, responsibility, basically developing well-rounded individuals, strong morally and intellectually, who could actually contribute something positive.
And underlying all that was this really direct message, especially for young people. It's quoted often. You are the makers of destiny. Believe in yourself.
Right, which ties straight back to his fundamental belief in the inherent divinity, the potential within every single person.
So as we sort of wrap up this deep dive, the picture that comes together from all these different sources, Vivekananda wasn't just some quiet monk off in a corner.
No, far from it. The words used to describe him in the material are really striking: a storm of fire, a beacon of awakening, a voice that still guides millions. He was this incredibly dynamic figure.
Yeah.
And he saw spirituality not as like an escape from the world, but as the actual source of strength you needed to engage with the world and try to change it for the better.
He wanted people to find that strength inside themselves and then use it, right?
Oh.
To improve society, change the world, don't just run away from it.
Which really leaves us with a question, doesn't it, for you listening? If Vivekananda is right, if true spirituality shows up as strength and action in the world, well, thinking about his story, what part of the world do you feel inspired to maybe change or contribute to?
Definitely something to think about as you go on from here.